Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon. Hello and welcome to this episode. This is the monthly book club episode where I do a review of the book that we are reading over in the Patreon group. So if you're not familiar, there is a whole other side of this podcast, and for $5 a month, you can join us in the book club where I record a bonus episode every single week, and each month we are reading through a new book, a self-development or a business-focused book, and then I record those 4 episodes, kind of giving you the Cliff's Notes, so you don't have to read the book along. Some people do, a lot of people don't. They just listen to the episodes, but I have gained so much knowledge, so much valuable information from these books that instead of doing my typical monthly overview, I am going to do a year-end overview, and I am going to go back today and kind of talk through all of the books that we have read. We've now done 8 over in the book club, and I'm going to talk about kind of the sticking points for me, the things that have really resonated with me in each book that I still use and implement in my business now. So some of the books have been life-changing, some of them were duds, but even in the dud books, there's been something I've been able to take away that has changed my business for the better. And I feel like before starting this book club idea, which I didn't know if it was going to stick, I didn't know if you guys were going to like it, I didn't know if I was going to like it, and it has been one of the most life-changing things I've done for my business. Like it has had the most significant impact because I think I spend so much time trying to like crack the code and figure out how to build a business that works for me. And a lot of this information has already been recorded and documented in books. And I guess I just overlooked books for the longest time, thinking that they were like old and stale or long and boring. And they're not. There's just so many amazing books out there that have impacted how I run my business and saved me so much time kind of figuring things out on my own. I've been able to just like take the recommended course of action, apply it to my business, and I've seen awesome results. So all of that has come from the books that we are reading in the book club. If you'd like to join, it's linked in the show notes. It is $5 a month, and once you join, you immediately get access to all of the episodes. So if I talk about a book today that you're like, shoot, I missed that one, you can go back and all of those episodes are waiting for you. So I think there's like 50 episodes that you unlock as soon as you join the group. Really quick, a little bit of housekeeping. There are 3 tiers over in the Patreon when you try to sign up. And if you're confused what Patreon is, it's basically just like an app that allows you to share your podcasts with a monthly membership. So that's just the app. Once you download it, you can actually set your settings so that these episodes show up in whatever podcast player you use. So like mine just show up in Spotify or in Apple Podcast. But there are 3 tiers, and starting on the first of the year, the first tier, the $3 tier, that is going to be like you're just leaving a tip. Like you really like the show, you want to support. That $3 tier is perfect for you. So that's $3 a month if you just want to support the podcast. That tier will no longer get access to the book club episodes. Then the $5 tier, that is going to be the book club. And then the $8 tier, that is everything. So you get the book club episodes, and then you get 2 bonus episodes specifically about money archetypes. So that is a whole kind of different vein that I know interests some people a lot, doesn't interest other people at all. So if that's you and you're really interested about the money archetype stuff and money in particular, that $8 tier is going to be for you. So if you are in the $3 tier and you want to keep getting the book club episodes, you'll have to go into your Patreon app and upgrade to the $5 tier. And if you're in the $5 tier and you never listen to those episodes and you don't want to unjoin because you don't want to hurt my feelings, you can downgrade to the $3, and that's just like leaving a little bit of a tip for me, for the podcast, to keep it going. Think of it like buying me a coffee every single month. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping around the Patreon group. But if you just want the book club, the $5 tier is the one that you're going to want to join. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we are going to get into the 8 books that have really changed my life this year.
I bet you've listened to more than one Bright Balloon episode, and I bet you've heard my voice before a few times. My name is Jeff from Balloon Suite, and my team specializes in marketing your balloon decor business online. As you're growing your business, it can be hard to figure out where to put your time and treasure. It can be hard to figure out what exactly to do on your website to increase sales and increase leads. My team already knows exactly what to do to help your business move forward. Come on over to balloonsuite.com, check out our plans and pricing. We would love to provide the website that helps you double the amount of revenue you're generating from your business.
All right, welcome back. I am going to go pretty quickly through these. We have 8 of them. Like I said, we didn't start this on the first of the month. I kind of eased my way into doing this book club idea. And the first book that we read way back when was Work Hard, Hardly Working. Now, this one was clunky, I'm not going to lie. I was trying to find my footing. I didn't really know how I was going to record these episodes. I didn't love this book, so it was kind of a bumpy start. And I think listeners now, if you go back and you listen to those episodes, you'll be able to tell. I feel like I was recording that more like a book report. Like I wanted to put everything in there. Now I'm much more casual. I skip over chapters. I kind of just only talk about the things that I find really interesting, because even though you'd think that 4 episodes is a lot to dedicate to a book, it's really not. Like when you break it up chapter by chapter, sometimes I'm trying to cram like 4 chapters into an episode. So now I just kind of hop around and record what's interesting. But this book, I tried to fit it all in there. And even though I wouldn't say this is one of my like number 1 choices, there was something that stuck with me that I really tried to focus on, and that's this Eisenhower method, which I think I had heard of before reading this book. Certainly the author did not invent this concept, but it's basically this idea of like prioritizing your tasks on a little grid. So imagine if there are 4 boxes, like a 4 square, and at the top it says urgent, not urgent, and on the side it says important, not important. So then you end up with a box of tasks that are important and urgent, important but not urgent, not important and urgent, and not important and not urgent. This sounds really complicated to talk through. Just Google the Eisenhower matrix and it'll come right up. But this concept of like, there are things that are important and urgent, and those are the things that I need to be doing. And then on the opposite side, there are things that are not important and not urgent, and I should just not be doing those. Just delete those from my task list. And when I think about the things that are in that category, that's a lot of things like social media, making reels, like things that I think I have spent too much time on this year and not enough time either delegating or scheduling out. Because like maybe some of those tasks fit in the important but not urgent quadrant here of this grid, but those are things that you can like schedule. Those aren't things that you have to do now. Those are maybe things you can batch and do like once a month. So maybe social media fits in there. Certainly like scrolling aimlessly on Instagram, that is in the not urgent, not important category, but obviously we all spend a lot of time doing that sometimes. So this was a good concept to kind of refresh myself on and really figure out like when you're overwhelmed and when your to-do list is never ending, putting it in these little quadrants is a really good way to get a visual impact of like, what really, really do you need to be doing? And what also is important, but you can do that later. And what's not that important, but you still have to do it. Maybe you can delegate that. So this was a good kick-off to the book club, because even though I didn't love this book, it was a concept that it was like, that I can focus on. That is one thing that I can definitely work a little bit harder at. The other thing that came from this book that I still do is writing out my week on like a Sunday or like a Monday morning, just kind of like looking at my overall calendar and scheduling it out on paper. And I know that seems so goofy if you keep like a Google calendar, but for me, blocking out like my entire week to see what I actually have to do has been something that I have been doing for a while. Not super consistently, but especially busy weeks, like blocking out my time in one sitting and kind of getting a feel for my entire week. That has been a concept that came from this book as well. So that has stayed with me. All right, on to the next one. You're a Badass at Making Money. This was probably the most fun book. I think this is where I personally started getting my like hitting my stride recording these book club episodes, because I was having a really fun time reading this book, talking about this book. I desperately needed people to talk to about it, because for me this book was like from Mars. For me it was like, this author is a crazy person and I'm loving every moment of it, if that makes sense. So this was a book a lot about like manifesting and mindset and like willing money into existence and working with the universe, which like for me, again, I was like, this is bonkers. Like it was so fun to read and so fun to record, because I think I was like half making fun of it and half super into it and half confused. That's a lot of halves. But this book, like you can even hear how I'm talking about it now. Like it's a light book and it's fun to read, but really motivating at the same time. So I really enjoyed this. And the things that stuck with me were betting on yourself. There's a whole chapter in here about how a lot of us cling to a 9-to-5 job, which I still have, because we feel like that is the secure option. But really, she goes on to explain like what is secure about working for a company where you have no control. You could be fired tomorrow. You don't get to control the direction of what they do. If they do their job well, if you do your job well, you don't get to control how much money you make. Like, why is that our definition of security versus betting on ourselves and knowing that we control literally everything that's coming to us? We control how much money we make. We control how long we work and how hard we hustle and what we do every day. Like that, there is more security in betting on yourself than there is betting on a company just because they have a regular paycheck. So that was really interesting for me. And also I would say this is kind of what kicked off a pretty consistent, I don't know, I don't want to say journey, but really that's what it was. The rest of this year, I really was interested in mindset stuff. Not so much the manifesting, not so much the like universal attraction, whatever. But the mindset, the idea that like, if your head is right, if your goals are specific, if you are focused, you can really do a lot of things. Like when I look back at what I accomplished this year, it's like my business is totally different than it was a year ago, which is pretty cool. So this book really kicked off the whole mindset thing for me, and it was just a really fun read. It was fun to have playing in the car with my husband, because like he also was like, this is insane, but probably more so than me. Like again, I can kind of buy into some of the woo-woo like out there ideas. He is much more practical, and he would just like crack up and be like, what are you listening to? You have joined a cult. And I was like, maybe I have. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, so then after this book, we moved on to something highly practical because I needed to come back down to earth. So the next one was Make Time. I really like this book because it reads like a recipe book. So there's just like a million different strategies to basically make more time in your day. But the big concept, the core concept here for me was this idea of a highlight. So every day you're going to select the highlight, like the thing that, if you had your big to-do list, it's the thing you're going to highlight, okay? Not necessarily a highlight in the sense of like it's the best, most exciting thing ever. The highlight, like the thing you are going to highlight on your to-do list, and that is the thing you have to do. So sometimes that sucks. Sometimes that's the thing that you don't want to do, but the point is you still have to do it. So you want to make sure that gets done, and you build the rest of your day around that one thing. So highlight meaning the most important. However, it can also mean highlight as in like the thing you're looking forward to. So that's kind of what I have implemented, because there are a lot of days where I wake up and I don't really have that thing that I'm excited to do. Like I'm just kind of going to work and I have a lot to do and none of it's terrible, but there's not like one bright, shiny star that like I'm looking forward to. So this book has encouraged me to kind of make those things. So I would say more than ever, probably 10 times since reading this book, I have been on my way to work, thinking about my day, realizing there's not really any bright spot in my day. It's all just kind of work. And I'll text a group of women and ask if anyone wants to go to lunch. And almost every single time, someone has responded, and I've set up little lunch dates for myself. So that's like just something so easy to just look forward to and to connect with people and kind of make the day go a little bit faster when you otherwise just are, you have so much to do. When I work from home, a lot of times those highlights in the summer were like walking to get my daughter from school. So something so simple, but if you don't make the time for it, it's not going to happen. Otherwise, I'm going to work right up to the minute, hop in my car, drive the 5 blocks to get her because I don't have time to walk, drive home, and then start working again. Versus, knowing that like I need to be done, I need to finish up 30 minutes before I have to get her. And then that's going to give me plenty of time to get my shoes on and walk there, get her, walk home, enjoy some time with her, and then get back to work. So that little break in the day has been so significant. Just like thinking ahead and figuring out like, what am I going to put in my day that's going to be like a nice little treat for myself. Sometimes it literally has been a treat. Like I'm going to go to Starbucks today on my lunch break. And I know that sounds so insignificant, but like that little treat to myself, if I don't intentionally plan it, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to leave my desk, honestly, is what happens. If I don't have something planned for my lunch break, it's just easier to keep working. So scheduling something in, that's the highlight, I think has been really great. That's been really important to me. And sometimes that's things like hopping on a Balloon Boss Mastermind call. So like I'm part of that group, and it's so easy to just skip the live calls because for me, they're at like 8:00 at night. I've just put my daughter to bed. I'm tired. I throw on the TV and I usually forget. But knowing that those live calls are coming up and it's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to hop on that call. I'm going to see my friends' faces. I'm going to chat about business. It's always a good time, but you have to make the time for it, which is the whole title of this book, Make Time. So having the daily highlight has really helped. All right, on to 10% Happier. So this book was not at all what I was expecting. It was all about meditation. I thought it was going to be about like how to do meditation, and it really was just like a novel, not a novel, a biography about the guy who wrote it, which it was super interesting. And my takeaway from this was basically a side conversation that I talk about in one of the episodes with my friend Krista, who is very into meditation, and I needed some help from her. I was like, I don't even know how to implement this. The idea of quieting my brain is like impossible. Like I can't possibly do that. So she actually went to a college where you're required to take like mindfulness classes and practice meditation. So she told me kind of the big concept for meditation is practicing non-reactivity. Like this idea that you don't have to react to everything the moment it's happening. And that to me was the big takeaway. That was the concept that stuck because I am not a meditator. I couldn't even do it for a month. That was going to be my thing. I was going to practice it. Snooze fest, couldn't do it. Like I literally would fall asleep or I was so bored, I just gave up. So meditation, I know everybody does it. All of these like CEOs, all these basketball players, all these important people meditate. I can't do it, you guys. It's like there's a gerbil loose in my brain, and the idea of sitting and doing nothing for 15 minutes is like, I feel like I'm going to die. So instead, I have been practicing this idea of non-reactivity, and not even in like a meditative way, but kind of just in my life. I think I always thought like I have to have an opinion about everything, and I have to know what that opinion is right away. And that's not true. Like it's very freeing just not having an opinion about something. Like, that thing doesn't affect me. It's not a super big deal, and I don't really have a strong opinion about it. So I'm not going to make my opinion known. I used to feel like it was very important to have strong opinions about everything, everything from politics to, what brand of balloon you use. And now it's just like, you know what? I don't need to have an opinion about those things. When someone brings that up in conversation, I don't need to react. I don't even need to participate. Other things like when something goes wrong, just the ability to not react is really, really powerful. Like when you're on site and everything is going wrong and you're able to stay calm and not react to like all the balloons popping and nothing working and your client being late and everything going terrible, like being calm in that situation is a really, really important asset to bring to not only a business, but a balloon business specifically. Like I think there's a lot of pressure-filled moments, and being able to not lose your cool and not react and not let that overtake your brain, I think is really important. So that has been my big takeaway, just practicing non-reactivity in situations, tense situations, awkward situations, maybe a situation where a client is like yelling at me, just like staying calm and not reacting in the moment, or like getting a bad email and not reacting immediately, not responding immediately, just like having the power to let it sit there overnight and then respond the next day. That has kind of been my roundabout takeaway from the meditation book. All right. We have 4 more to go. And I would say that these 4 books have been the game changers for me. They were just back to back to back. These next 4 have really, really moved the dial. So I'm going to take a quick break and take a sip of my coffee here. And then we are going to get into The Pumpkin Plan, Purple Cow, Business Made Simple, and Chill and Prosper. If you haven't checked out Havin a Party Wholesale yet, what are you waiting for? And guess what? The deal just got even sweeter. Our friends over at Havin a Party have set up a special coupon code just for listeners of the podcast. Use code BRIGHTBALLOON for 5% off the next time you check out at Havin a Party. So head over to havinaparty.com for your next balloon order. All right, welcome back. Let's get into the next 4 books. Real quick, if you are considering joining the book club, the holidays are a great time if you are traveling. So like I said, I just wanted to remind you, if you join, you get access to all of these episodes. So there's 4 episodes for every single book I'm talking about today. So you could crank through a bunch of them if you're flying and you download the episodes in advance, or if you're in the car, or if you just need some time away from your crazy family, you get access to all of these episodes. So if you particularly wanted to listen to, The Pumpkin Plan, that's waiting for you, or you can skip around, you can do them out of order. But this next set of books really have been the ones that I think have made the biggest impact in my business. So starting off with The Pumpkin Plan. This is by Mike Michalowicz, who also did Profit First, which I know many of you use to manage your cash flow in your business. It's the strategy that I use to manage my cash flow. And I did actually do a book club review on that book as well. Must have been at least a year and a half ago on the main podcast. So you can find that episode by searching as well. But this book, like Profit First, it was very simple and told me exactly what to do. These are the kind of books that I've decided I like. I like the conceptual stuff, but I also like when people lay it out and it's like steps 1 through 5, and you just have to do those things. So that's what Profit First was like, and that's what the Pumpkin Plan is like. So more in depth about the Pumpkin Plan if you listen to the full episodes, but the biggest concepts that I have taken from the Pumpkin Plan, first of all, the whole analogy of the pumpkins. I love it. I talk about it all the time. This idea that if you are a farmer and you are growing a field of pumpkins and those are your clients, they all feed off of the same vine. So they are all growing off of the same vine. So if you have little pumpkins and rotten pumpkins and ugly pumpkins and annoying pumpkins, those are all sucking nutrients from the good pumpkins, the big pumpkins that you want to grow into giant award-winning pumpkins. So those are your ideal clients. So if you're running around and trying to serve all the people, you're actually taking nutrients and attention away from your good clients. So his idea is you kill off the vine, you get rid of all those little pumpkins so that you can focus on the big pumpkins exclusively. And then you plant more seeds so that you can grow more big pumpkins just like the clients you already like. So this analogy that you really only need to focus on your ideal client and kind of let the rest die off. So if you really want to be known for amazing large-scale corporate events, you shouldn't then also be catering to $100 birthday parties, because that is basically going to you're going to take as much energy to serve that birthday party client as you are that corporate client. And if your corporate client is the one you really want and you want it to grow and continue to use you for all of their events and year after year, you need to have all of your attention on them, not divided between them and a million other clients. And that's scary when you think like you're intentionally going to say no to small pumpkins, basically. That's a scary concept. But I stumbled upon this book because I tried to take the entire month of July off. Does anyone remember that experiment? Well, it didn't go well. But it did go well, actually, because while I didn't end up taking the entire month off, I ended up saying yes to a handful of jobs. And I ended up making more that month than I did in a typical month, working less. So that was kind of my first eye-opening experience with the pumpkin plan. Before I even knew what I was doing, I accidentally killed off the little pumpkins, and I had this very easy, very lucrative, very fun month of only serving the biggest and the best. And I accidentally did my own pumpkin plan. So that's why I read this book, because I remembered this concept from years ago, and I was like, now's the time. Now is the time to read this book. And it was the best. Like reading through this book, reading through all of the steps of here's what to do next, and here's how to identify who your biggest target is and like who your ideal target, your client is. It's the best. I can't say enough about this book. If you don't want to be in the book club, if you don't want to subscribe, if you don't want to listen to podcasts, at the least get this book from your library, because it's so good. The other area that has stuck with me, like deeply ingrained in me now, is this idea of your area of innovation. That came from the pumpkin plan too. And you've heard me talk about this in other episodes. You will hear me talk about it in future episodes. This might be the biggest concept of 2022 for me. Like, this is my biggest takeaway. When I mentioned I have like extreme clarity in my business now, it's because of this area of innovation. So the three areas are quality, convenience, and price. So those are the only three areas, and you cannot have all three of them. In the book, he actually gives examples of companies who tried to change their area of innovation or dabble in multiple areas of innovation, and then they like literally fail. And he explains why, and it's really interesting. So this idea was so powerful for me because for the first time, I was able to kind of identify that my area of innovation is convenience. It always has been and it always will be, but I've never necessarily identified that or put my finger on it. And in identifying that my area is convenience, it's made me feel a lot better about the fact that my area is not quality. And when I say quality, that's kind of a dicey word to use in our industry, because you can have great quality products. I think the better word for it in our instance is customization. So like you can have like super high end, super custom, super high quality products. And that's not me. Like, I'm never going to be into customizing balloons with custom cut vinyl or double stuffing or doing site visits and custom mock-ups and multiple meetings and Zoom calls. Like, I can't stand that. My ideal client is when they frantically call me on a Friday and they need balloons on like Wednesday, and it's like 4 balloon columns and they don't even care the colors, and they put it on a credit card and it's done. Like, those two situations, that's my dream. I know it's someone else's nightmare, but like I mentioned before, the whole like hardcore event planning, custom design, some of you live for that. Like, it's what you love. I hate it. And this book has given me the confidence to say that and also use that as like a strength. Like, the fact that I am not for everybody is a strength. That means that I am absolutely the right choice for the office worker who just needs the balloons to be ordered and done well. Yes, you are for me, I am for you. Love at first sight. But then there's other people who their area of innovation is that high-end, super custom, super quality. And then there's other people where their area of innovation is price. Like, it's okay to be the cheapest on the block. Like, there is a place for you. Look at Walmart. Like, lots of people shop and love Walmart because their game is price, and they don't make, they don't make any mistake about it. They are not marketing that they have the best quality. They are all about the lowest prices. So I think there's this power that comes from identifying your area of innovation and then growing into that space. So I have since then put things in place in my business to further make it more convenient for my customers. So my grab and go garlands are a perfect example of making it even more convenient. I've recently moved my pickups to a grocery store. So I am now able to offer a wider pickup window that I don't even have to be available for. So I've basically outsourced the entire pickup process, and everybody is happier because it has just been a more convenient solution. So my customers have gotten more convenience. It's been more convenient for me, and it's convenient for the grocery store because it's something that they already had a model for, and they're getting more customers in their store. So that's one example of just aligning yourself with customers and other businesses that are also in your area of innovation. It helps everybody. So wow, I could keep talking about this, but we have 3 more books to get through. But the Pumpkin Plan has changed my business. It's been a game changer. So I really hope it will be for you as well. After the Pumpkin Plan, we moved on to the Purple Cow, which had another awesome analogy. I really like analogies. They stick with me. So instead of pumpkins, now we're talking about cows. So the overarching idea for Purple Cow was this idea that if you're driving and you see cows, you're like, hey, cows. My family literally used to do this on trips, like, oh, cows. But then after a while, you see so many cows, they're not even remarkable anymore. Like, no one shouts out cow. You don't even notice them. There's just so many. And I live in Wisconsin, so this one was particularly true. There's a lot of cows here. But if you were driving and all of a sudden one of the cows was purple, you would point that out. You would say, wow, that purple cow. So the idea of like, how do you position your business to be the purple cow, to just continue to be remarkable, even when there are a lot of other cows out there now. And this one I think is particularly true because there are a lot of balloon companies. And it's interesting for me because I have this podcast where I am helping you guys grow your businesses, but some of you are listening and you're a little close to me. So I can see some businesses popping up and I can tell who listens to this podcast because you're doing the things that I'm telling you and they are working. So I am essentially helping my competition, but because of this purple cow concept and because of the pumpkin plan, I'm not, I think there's totally enough to go around. I'm not actually worried that there's competition popping up around me, but I know in certain areas there are literally balloon companies on every block. New Jersey, I'm talking to you. I feel like every other person that messages me is from New Jersey. So I know there's so much competition up there, but there's also so many people. So even though, there's more competition, there are plenty of birthdays. There's always enough to go around. And Purple Cow is the book about how do you distinguish yourself from the competition? How do you stand out on a map full of balloon companies or in a room of small business owners? Maybe you're not trying to stand out amongst other balloon businesses, but just stand out at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And I think balloons give us an awesome advantage. You're already unique when you say that you do balloons. But the big concept that stayed with me, because again, I really like those practical applications, just tell me what to do and I will do it. And the big practical takeaway from this, his very simple marketing tactic, is to figure out where your ideal clients hang out and go to those places, physically, be in that spot. And that is so simple. And when I thought about it, I don't do that. I am not available. I am online. I think people find me on Google, which they do. But in terms of that corporate business to business, those relationships, I have really started trying to push myself to be present in those spaces. And it's hard, but I joined the Chamber of Commerce this year. It's hard to make those meetings because they just happen to be at the exact time I have to drop my daughter off for school. So I'm trying to figure out some before school care so that I can actually get to these monthly meetings. But little things like that, figuring out where my clients are and going to those places and being actually present has stuck with me. So next year, that's one of my big goals, is like getting to those Chamber of Commerce meetings, networking with local business owners. I went to this gala, which I would never have gone to before. Like I spent $50 on a ticket to be in a ballroom with all these other business owners. And while I have to admit I was a bit of a wallflower and like clung to the one person I knew because I was a little nervous, I think next year it's kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, there's like awards that they give out to small businesses. And like, this is how you get to know who owns certain things. And this is how you get to know how to work closely with the Chamber of Commerce. Like just by going to that event, it's kind of opened my eyes to the reality of like in-person networking. The big balloon build is something I've also been working on all year, and that has really pushed me to network, and some really, really exciting connections and opportunities are coming from that as well. So this idea of like figuring out where your clients are and physically going to those spaces, that has impacted me a lot. Another goal that I'll talk about in my goal setting episode that came from this book is, again, this concept of finding where your clients are and going there. Unfortunately for me, that's Facebook. Like I abandoned Facebook probably 5 years ago. Like hate it. I don't like Facebook. I think it's boring. I think it's old. I think it's stale. I think it's confusing. I manage like 6 different Facebook accounts because I do like some social media managing for my day job. So for me, my notifications are just like a dumpster fire of things I don't care about. So one of my goals going into this year is to first kind of clean out my Facebook, like get rid of the groups that I am not participating in, figure out if I can like turn off notifications for certain things that I just like don't need notifications about. Like I don't need to know when someone likes a post. Like I don't care about that. I do need to know when someone sends me a message. So the fact that those are getting buried in all these notifications, like Facebook has just like sucked the life out of me. So I just abandoned it. However, all of this to say, that is where businesses in my area hang out. And I am just now becoming aware of that. Like after that gala that I just talked about, the networkers in the room were all posting to Facebook. They were all tagging our Chamber of Commerce on Facebook. They were all celebrating the award winners on Facebook. And meanwhile, I'm on Instagram, and guess who's there? Nobody. You know, like my future clients are there. Like I get a lot of good clients from Instagram, but I don't network super hard on Instagram. I network with the other Instagram-y people, and there's a few of them. Like the florists are on Instagram, the newer businesses, but like the library isn't on Instagram. The Chamber of Commerce is sort of on Instagram, but like they're just more on Facebook. So I need to be on Facebook. I need to figure out where my ideal clients are and go to those places. So that's what I'm going to do, and that is directly from Purple Cow, which is interesting because Purple Cow was written before Facebook existed, but I think the concepts still hold true. All right, let's move on. We got 2 more. Business Made Simple. Oh, guys, this one was thick. It was like, oh my gosh. So I read Business Made Simple to prepare for Summit. So every year I go to Balloon Boss Summit in November. It is my week. Like that is what I always tell people. Like Summit for me is what I make it. Like I could go to Summit and gain nothing, or I could go to Summit and gain everything. Like it is my week, and it's going to be as successful as I want it to be. Does that make sense? Like it's my week away from my family. It's my week in a hotel room by myself. At one point I was like wearing a bathrobe, eating pizza in this clean bed without a toddler running around, watching HGTV, setting my goals for the next year. I felt like Richie Rich, like I was living the dream life. It was awesome. But I love having that time set aside every year to learn from some of my, like, I don't know what to call them. Not necessarily mentors, but like the people that I look up to in the balloon industry. Like those are the people that are at Summit, and those are the people that I take direction from well. Like I don't like taking direction from people who haven't done the things that I want to do. I like learning from people who have done 10 times more than I could ever do. Does that make sense? Like learning from Scott from Balloons by Tommy. Like yeah, like why would I not want to learn from someone who literally does over $1 million a year in sales? Even if that's not necessarily where I see my business going, like you obviously can gain so much from people like that. Or like the Pottses, like Chris and Marlene Potts. I just like love them. I love their business. I love that they make things simple. Oh my gosh, I'm just rambling about Summit now. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, Business Made Simple. Anyway, whoops, I went on a tangent. That Summit is amazing. Oh, real quick, one more tangent, because I haven't recorded an episode since I've been back. So I was at Summit Monday through Thursday, and then my family was going to fly down Thursday through Sunday to go to Disney, but a hurricane hit. This like weird little miniature hurricane that barely did anything, like it barely rained, I'm not kidding. It shut down the airports, so my family couldn't get there. So we canceled our Disney trip and rescheduled for January, but I couldn't reschedule my flight to leave any earlier, so I was just there by myself until Sunday. So I had Thursday, Friday, and Saturday all to myself to hang out with people who were also stuck there, set my goals, go to dinner, enjoy my time. Like, it was amazing. Like, it sucked that we didn't get to do Disney, and it was a lot of stress for my husband to like reschedule our whole trip. But I got an extended Summit experience this year, which is why I had my like sitting in bed watching TV, living the dream life moment. That was after Summit ended. But I love having that time committed to like goal setting. And this year, the whole concept of Summit was based around Business Made Simple. Like, it was about soaring into the new year, or like there was a plane analogy, which is in this book, and the keynote speaker spoke about Business Made Simple. So our homework was to read the book before we went, and it was a long book. Like, he even says, the author says, if you implement all of these things in your business, it will take 2 years. And I was like, well, I don't have 2 years. I have 1 month to get through this book. So I skipped around a little bit, and some of it was a little bit dense for me, like about a marketing department or about your sales department. And it was like, those are all just me. Like, I'm excited that I think the same author has a book coming out specifically for small businesses, which I think will speak more to me. But one of the things that stuck with me from this book was the idea of talking about your business through storytelling. It really landed with me because I've always hated this idea of the elevator pitch, like where people give kind of like weird, robotic, pre-rehearsed explanations of their business. Like, I've never seen it done well, and I've never been able to do it well. So this kind of puts a spin on it. And rather than giving an elevator pitch when someone asks what you do, he advocates for like a storytelling approach and gives a formula. Again, can you see the theme that like I really like when people tell me exactly what to do, because then I can do it. So this formula of like setting the problem, agitating the problem, presenting your company as the solution, and then saying because ... and that's kind of like your mission statement at the end. So for example, mine that I'm still kind of working on, instead of people being like, what do you do? And me saying balloons, I can say, well, like, have you ever seen those super awesome balloon installations on like Instagram or at like the Kardashians' birthday parties? And they'll be like, yeah. And I say, well, my company makes getting those results attainable to the average person. So with simple like online ordering and easy pricing, we bridge the gap between what you can see online, but what you can actually get at at a convenient way. We bridge the gap between those two things because balloons should be fun, not hard. So again, I'm rambling through that. But do you see how that comes off a little bit more natural than being like, what do you do? And me saying, well, we're the #1 provider of fun in the Lake Geneva area, providing unbeatable service and outstanding balloon decor every day of the year. Or like, that seems super weird to me. Maybe that sounded better to you, but I am much more of like the storyteller of like, oh, like, what you see on Instagram, but also like, you can't really get that at like a grocery store or from the dollar store, and you don't want to have to make your own kit on Amazon. Well, my company does all the work for you. Like, I feel like I could say that different every single time and natural every single time, but it relates it back to a story, and I think something that people can latch onto, like, oh yeah, I definitely have gotten crappy grocery store balloons, or yeah, I've definitely tried to do one of those Amazon kits and it sucked and I never want to do it again. Oh, your company can do something like that for me? Perfect. So that has kind of put words to the story of my business. I've always struggled with that. I've always been really bad at explaining what I do. I'm always like, I do balloons, like, arches and stuff like that. And people are just kind of like, okay, cool. So there's definitely room to improve in that area, but I love this concept from the book that like it should be a story. People connect to a story, they understand it, they can put themselves in the story. The other really big concept that I'm just kind of working into right now is this idea that you should position your client to be the hero. You don't need to be the hero, you're the guide. So in that same situation, I could say, like, have you ever been responsible for decorating your office party? Like, that sucks. That's a really hard thing to do because you're either going to Party City and getting 1,000 balloons that don't fit in your car, or you're ordering the stuff from Amazon and having to figure out how to inflate these balloons. Like, we do all of the work for you, so you just have to tell us what you want and it'll all be done and taken care of, and you'll look like the hero. You will be the one that takes all the credit. Again, same narrative, different story. I feel like I can wing that on the fly because I know the overarching story that I want to tell, which for me, again, relating all the way back to that area of innovation, it's always about convenience. For me, your story might be totally different. It might be about like, that quality that you see at the Kardashians' birthday party. We do that. That's us. We provide the balloon colors that you can't get anywhere else. We provide the customization on every single balloon, something you can't get from any other decorator in this state. That's when people come to us. That might be your story. But I love this concept of storytelling instead of the elevator pitch. All right, moving on to our last book, the book that started it all for me, Chill and Prosper. So Denise Duffield-Thomas is like my go-to. She is my guru of all things small business. And her book, Chillpreneur, is now rebranded as Chill and Prosper. It's the same book, it's just updated and re-released. But I read Chillpreneur, I think 2 years ago on my way to Summit. And I remember being on an airplane and it was like a pivotal moment in my business. And it was a pivotal moment of the podcast because I had just started. Not many people were listening. I was like kind of embarrassed that I even had a podcast because it like all this imposter syndrome kind of popped up of like, well, who am I to be helping people? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, well, should I even be doing this? And this book for me solidified like, you don't have to be the guru. You can just be a contributor, and that's also valuable. So that gave me the confidence to continue on with the podcast. And since then, it's grown, and I just love it. It's like the podcast is like my favorite thing that I do. Like I truly, truly love recording these episodes. And even if one person is like, wow, I had a takeaway from that, it feels worth it. Like it feels so fun to record these episodes. So Chill and Prosper has like a little spot in my heart. But the overall, like the big takeaway is reading it again was once again this idea of the keyless life and then the concept that you don't always have to work harder to make more money. So the keyless life, there is a whole episode about this. A big part of the book is dedicated to this idea of like, so the author, Denise Duffield-Thomas, she was always like forgetting her keys or like fumbling to find her keys. And it was just like one little annoying thing she did every day. So she installed keypads on her doors, so she never has to look for her keys. And it's a very practical tip. I also have done this, and I would totally recommend it. I love having the keypad, but it kind of is a metaphor for other areas in your life where maybe you're just doing something because it's not like a significant hassle, but if you have enough of those little friction points throughout your day, if you can strategically remove some of those, it just makes your day better. Like, what can you automate? What can you stop doing? What can you put on autopilot? And I am obsessed with looking for those little keyless life moments and just trying to like streamline my life. One of the big things that happened because of this book was that I hired a cleaning company to come and do my house, my floors, my bathrooms, and like my countertops. They come and clean every other week, and that feels like such a luxury. That's not something that I had growing up. It's not something that
I still struggle with it. I still am like, I can clean a bathroom. I should be doing that. But from this book, it's like, just because you can do it doesn't mean that that's where you should be spending your money, because you can clean a bathroom, or you can send out those invoices and let people give you money. You can follow up with that client and get a new job. You can inflate balloons and get ahead on the weekend. Like, there are other things that I could be doing that generate more money than it costs to, clean a bathroom. So I had a big moment this year, and I was sitting at a coffee shop. It's called Havin. It's like, I remember I was sitting upstairs, I was on my laptop, I was sending invoices, and those days when like you're sending invoices and people they're just paying right away, like they're at their computers, and all of a sudden you just are like getting all this money. And I remember I was sitting there and I was sending out invoices as fast as I could, and as fast as I could send them, people were paying them, and I was getting all these notifications like $200 here, $900 here, $300 there. And in 1 hour of working, I had sent out and gotten like $1,500 worth of invoices paid. And at the same time, I had someone at my house cleaning my bathrooms, and I had someone else at my house inflating balloons for me. And it was like a moment that I won't forget it, because it was just such a big move forward from where I was a year ago, where I was literally just doing everything. And now just having the tiniest bit of help, like, it's not like I have a housekeeper. Someone comes to help me once every other week, and my inflator comes once a week to blow up balloons. And in that moment, it was like, wow, like I can see the power of getting help. Like I can see what it is doing, because I am here literally getting money, getting paid, while someone else is doing something that I would otherwise have to be doing. And that was a big change for me. That was a big mental shift. And it happened this year, and it happened because of this book. And the last thing, the big takeaway from this book, this idea of having to work harder to make more money, that has always been something I've struggled with, because logically my brain is like, okay, well, I did $100,000 in sales this year. I can't possibly do 200. I could never do 300. Are you kidding me? Like, I would die. Like, I would die if I did $300,000 in sales. Yet I'm seeing these people do $1 million in sales, and they're not dead. And kind of the combination of now, for the first time, having help, I'm like, okay, I could do a little bit more, and it doesn't necessarily mean more work. Like, it means more sales. It means more managing of different tasks, but it's a shift. It doesn't necessarily mean that I am inflating more balloons. It just means that I need to put more systems in place so other people can do those things. And going into this year, I also think that there might be areas where you might just be able to get more money for doing no more work. So examples like that for me, and I will talk about this in my goal setting episode, but I raised my prices. So I did this all at Summit in my week dedicated to me and my business. I raised my prices. I put a 20% upcharge on all outdoor decor, which I've never done before. But I had a moment this year where I was setting up 5 30-foot arches outside, and I was like, this is freaking hard. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of weight to physically move. Like, the bases are heavy. The sandbags are heavy. The 30-foot arches are a lot of work to like wrestle into place outside. I was like, that is way more work than doing this inside. So just because it's the same order doesn't mean it's the same amount of work. So now I'm going to charge 20% extra for those outdoor events, because they require so much more work. Like, outdoor is just much more challenging. I am also going to stick to my own delivery fees. Like, I don't know what my deal is, but like, I still feel bad charging full price for delivery. Like, I don't know. It's right on my website. People know they're going to pay it. And then I always am like, 150 seems insane. I'm just going to charge them 100. But like, why? Like, why am I doing that? They can decide if they don't want to pay $150 for delivery, but like, I am not going to decide that for people anymore. I'm going to just stick to it. And just by doing that, just by enforcing those delivery fees, I know I'm going to make more money for doing the same amount of work that I'm doing right now. So little tweaks to your pricing, to your installation fee, to your delivery fee, like little tweaks there can just literally generate you more money for doing no additional work. Another way you could do this is by cutting back on some of your offerings. So for example, my garlands used to have tons and tons of 16-inch balloons in them because I really like how it looked. But then 16-inch balloons got really expensive and hard to get. So I just cut back. So now my garlands have many more 11-inch balloons and I charge the same thing. So my customers are getting less, but they don't know it. Like I've actually cut back on the materials. It still looks the same, but instead of raising my price of garlands to $175, I kept the price at $100 for a grab and go, but they are just now more 11-inch balloons. They're a little bit shorter. I don't put as many 5-inch clusters. So I've essentially cut back on materials and labor and kept the same price point. So again, it feels like I'm going to be making more money for less work. And that is it. That is the last book that we have read. Wrapping up this year, we are doing the 5-second rule. That is going to be, what month is it even? That'll be December. So we will end on kind of a light, easy book. The 5-second rule is about taking action, doing the little things that you don't want to do in your life. I'm only 1 chapter in right now. So if you would like to finish it up with us, you can join the book club, and that'll be linked in the show notes. Again, you get access to all of the episodes as soon as you join, and then you can unsubscribe if it's not a good fit. And those are new bonus episodes every single Sunday. And if you have book recommendations for 2023, let me know. I have no plans of stopping or pulling back. Just one more reminder, if you are currently getting the book club episodes and in the $3 tier, you either need to upgrade to the $5 tier, or you can stay at that $3 and think of it like buying me a coffee once a month, or you can unsubscribe if the $5 a month isn't in your budget right now. I totally understand. So thank you for joining me. This was a longer one, but there's just no way to talk about all of the goodness that I have gained from these books. It really has been the number one thing that has impacted my business this year. And if you're looking for a place to start, I would start with the Pumpkin Plan. It was just a game changer for me and for a lot of people that listened along. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time in a future episode. Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. If you are interested in bonus episodes, check out our Patreon group where I release an additional episode every single week, and you unlock more than 50 archived episodes as soon as you join. Check out the link in the show notes wherever you're listening.